evening, you're with ET Now. This is a fresh edition of the India Development Debate, the only show on news television that puts the spotlight on development issues. I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy, joining in from the news center in Mumbai. Joining in Delhi is my colleague and co-anchor Supriya Srinath. Straight to the big debate tonight. The citizenship drive in Assam is fast becoming a national crisis. Parliament came to a standstill today as opposition parties dared the government to drive out the 40 lakh odd people who failed to make it to the NRC list. Leading the BJP's counter-attack party president, Amit Shah hit out at the opposition for playing vote bank politics. He said only those who are opposing the NRC are in fact batting for illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. Many sociologists say it is a humanitarian crisis and there's little clarity on how to deal with those who fail the citizenship test. Supreme Court, on the other hand, has pulled up the state administration for doing a shoddy job while preparing the list.
Indeed, there are also fears that the citizenship drive will deepen the divide along religious and linguistic lines, and the biggest winner from polarization will perhaps be the Bharatiya Janata Party, which will assert itself in the pole position in northeast politics. With Amit Shah proclaiming that West Bengal will be next, the political battle lines have clearly been drawn. TMC chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has warned that there will be a civil war leading to a bloodbath if the centre goes ahead with the citizenship drive. The standoff over NRC, its implications of national politics, is a big topic of discussion and debate right here on the India Development Debate this evening. Alright, let's take it straight across to a very, very special panel that's joining us right here on ET Now. I'm being joined by Kishlay Bhattacharjee, author and journalist, Suhas Chakma, Director, Rights and Risks Analysis Group, Anand Ranganathan, scientist and author, and I've also got Narendra Taneja representing the BJP and Charan Singh Sapra representing the Congress. I will also have Yogendra Yadav, founder and national president for Raj India political party, on the phone line with me. So thanks each one of you for sparing time and being with us. This isn't just a social or political issue, it's a deeply emotional issue as well. But let me take it across to Kishlay Bhattacharjee to begin with. Over 40 lakh people who've been living in Assam for generations have been left out of that draft list. Is it just a clerical error, or is there a greater political design to it? Kishlay.
Well, you know, I can't say for sure, but whatever information I have is that this number was inflated in the last couple of months, and that is why the government left it open-ended. And my guess is that, and the government themselves have said, that people can go for redressal, and this number, I'm told, will be brought down substantially. Say, for example, as a case in point, there is a NRC Seva Kendra called Maligaon, which is in Guwahati, just on the outskirts of Guwahati, which has about 53,000 applicants for the NRC. 13,500 applicants out there were rejected. I have been told by, fairly reliable sources that almost all of these 13,500 will find their names in the list. I think the BJP about 2 months back was in a bit of a sticky situation when they had sent the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Citizenship Amendment Bill, which actually was almost counter to what the Assam Accord and the NRC is. And there was very vociferous opposition to that bill, and that has been put on hold. I think after that they kind of worked it in such a way to be able to get maximum advantage politically, also into keeping in view 2019 elections.
Absolutely.
I think they are now, it's going to be advantage BJP from this result.
Okay. So Narendra Taneja, let's not beat around the bush. Is there a hidden political agenda of the government here behind the citizenship drive in Assam, agenda specific to Assam and in terms of signalling across the country? Because there are glaring discrepancies. Many soldiers' families, including former President late Fakhruddin Ali's family, is not in the NRC list. The list includes, freedom fighters as well as 100-year-old senior citizens. What explains these glaring omissions?
No, the first thing I think is important to put the facts on the table first. NRC exercise has been ordered by the Supreme Court of India.
Right.
And Supreme Court of India is monitoring it. BJP is not something that BJP has done. It's the Supreme Court of India. So if you have to question, please question the Supreme Court of India's wisdom, their order and their integrity, not a BJP. The second thing is, when you look at the whole process, NRC is the process. What is the process? Basically is the identification of citizens of India versus those who are illegal migrants. That's it. Nothing to do with linguistic or Hindu or Muslim and all that. Supreme Court knows these things and is being monitored by the Supreme Court of India, which is a very, so we have to keep this in mind before we really say, oh, BJP is the beneficiary of political gains and so forth. That's not what it is. And if the Supreme Court commands, government has to execute. And that's what the government is doing. In terms of these numbers, whether the number is 2 million, 3 million, 4 million and all that, Home Minister has repeatedly said it, and Supreme Court also mentioned it today. So Home Minister has made it very clear. If there are any errors, clerical errors or whatever, those who are bona fide Indian citizens, and those, even those who are not, but they are part in this 4 million people, not a single person will be put into any inconvenience or will be disturbed or will be harassed. Very, very, very clear. And twice, I live in Delhi, twice my name was taken off from the electoral rolls in Delhi,
Okay. It's not so...
All right, sure.
Naren Taneja, let me just come in there, and you make an important point that this is a Supreme Court monitored exercise. It wasn't even started by you. It was actually first started by the Congress government. The reality is that the Supreme Court is very upset of how it has been done. It has actually taken on record some very stern observations on this, and it believes that this entire exercise has not been done well. 40 lakh people, 4 million people being left out. And I think the other point of contention is that it's not going to be so easy to just get your names enrolled once again. But let me take this across to Suhas Chakma. Suhas Chakma, is too much being made out of what is perhaps after all a draft? Yes, 40 lakh people do not find their names appear in this NRC. They've been given another chance after all to prove their citizenship. It isn't as if they've been declared illegal and non-Indians outright.
No, I think if you look at the entire scenario, when a person has to go through the entire humiliation process of proving himself to be a citizen, and when people are selling their goats, cows, whatever available, then obviously you are not talking about exaggerating it. I think the government should admit the fact that the Supreme Court had not instructed to prepare a draft which is full of errors. And my contention is, if you were to ask people to prove their citizenship based on 1971, and if you go to a state like Jharkhand, there will be many people who will have no documentation, and the fact that thousands of tribals are not even able to prove that they have been staying in a particular area since December 2005, under which they get the Forest Rights Act, obviously it means that people have no documentation. So, I mean, it's a critical issue, and where you have put the entire people of Assam to prove themselves. If there is nobody is objecting to identification of the illegal immigrants. But I think the fact that everybody has to prove himself, you have actually turned the entire criminal jurisprudence upside down. It's for the state to prove that somebody is illegal, but in this case you have to go and prove yourself. And if we look at the number of people who have been excluded, it's extraordinary. How could the state make such glaring examples where the husband of the MLA is there and his wife is not included? Obviously, if there are certain mistakes, the government should admit that there have been mistakes. But you cannot get away saying that you have an opportunity. Okay. Why should somebody take the opportunity?
Right. It's a good point you're making. Let me get a quick reaction from Anand Ranganathan. Not sure he agrees with you. Anand, your opening comment. Suhas says the onus of proving citizenship must not rest with the citizen. Why should a citizen have to go and prove that he is not an illegal immigrant? Let the state prove that he is illegal. I don't think anyone in this debate is going to be in favor of having illegal immigrants in the first place. But this is an enormous exercise in trying for each citizen to try and prove his bona fide citizenship. Anand Ranganathan.
Hi, Sandeep. First of all, thanks very much, you and Supriya, for having me. If I remember correctly, I think last time I was on... sorry, there's a...
Go ahead, Anand.
There's an echo here, but I'll continue. Last time we were talking about the hypocrisy of politicians. Nothing has changed, it seems. But let me make 3 quick points, and one of them would actually answer what you've asked. So I'm actually appalled by the hypocrisy of the politicians and the politicking that has gone on. I mean, for heaven's sake, we're talking of a Supreme Court ordering this and minutely monitoring it. Just imagine if Supreme Court hadn't stepped in. And this is something, if you remember, this is actually a fallout of the NRC, is a fallout of the Assam Accord that was signed in 1985. And in 2005, actually, it was taken up again, or proposed by the UPA, and one of your panelists, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, was in the National Advisory Council. And it was supposed to be taken up in 2005. And if you remember, today or yesterday, when Ms. Mamata Banerjee says that all those 40 lakhs who've been delisted or excluded are welcome to come to Bengal. I mean, is Bengal a separate country? And she's the one in 2005 in the Lok Sabha, she actually tore up the papers and threw it at the speaker, deputy speaker, and resigned because she was not allowed to speak on what she wanted to speak, which was Bangladeshi immigrants and infiltration and them coming onto the voter cards. And today she's saying, she's actually warning, and not so much exactly, but warning of a civil war. But let's come to the point, and here I would, you see, no one can be against a national registry of citizens. This is a poor country. We can, as it is, barely afford to feed our own people. Now, I have nothing against migrants, of course, and it is a fact of life. But the point is that can we afford to have 30, 40, 50 million illegal immigrants? According to Shashi Tharoor in 2012, he said there are reliably 20 million Bangladeshi immigrants, and he used a very disparaging word saying that who have slipped into the Indian woodwork. So 20 million was his estimate. Now, if you look at Assam per se, and here I would like to answer your question which you asked, which is very pertinent, which is if you look at the data, just pure data, 2001 to 2011, there has been a 30% increase in the Muslim population. Muslim population, the rate of growth has been 2.5 times the Hindu rate of growth. Now, that is unprecedented anywhere else in India. And if you look at the total fertility rate, which is a hallmark of how the population is growing, the TFR is actually stayed the same, both Hindu and Muslim, and of Assam in the last. So, only thing that can explain this is illegal immigration in Assam and in Bengal. Now, the problem is that Assam is the only state that is actually doing it right now under Supreme Court supervision. But what would happen is, amongst these 4 million, because no other state is doing it, the people would simply, travel to other states and settle there. So there has to, I mean, this has to be a bipartisan approach. Across political parties, they have to decide that, look, this is constitutionally mandated. We need a registry of our citizens because we are paying taxes for the welfare of our citizens. We have nothing against Bangladeshi migrants or even illegal immigrants. And in fact, the problem also is that a lot of, this whole thing has just kicked up a storm, and people are using very disparaging language like we need to kick them out. I mean, that kind of language is unacceptable.
Just hold your... So, okay. Anand Ranganathan, you made an opening remark. I don't know if it's so easy to take a binary position. Kishla and Suhas, I'll just come to you, but I've got Yogendra Yadav on the phone line. And Yogendra, Anand spoke about the hypocrisy of politicians here, and he talks about how there is a very high level of immigrants in the country, migrants in the country, and can we really afford? Do we have the luxury to afford that? And is this issue being unnecessarily politicized? I want your reactions on those statements, and if I may also say, how much of a breather really is the Supreme Court order that emphatically states there will be no coercive action by any authority on the over 40 lakh excluded from the NRC? How big a respite this really is?
On the respite thing, I think it was clearly understood that the coming of draft register would not automatically lead to any coercive action, that people will be given opportunity to respond to this draft, and it's only after that that there would be some finality to it. But the very publication and the hype about it and the entire process has generated very intense anxiety. Legally, the position was...
Right. I think we've got Yogendra Yadav on a weak line. I'm gonna go take it to Charan Singh Sapra. We'll try and fix the line back with Yogendra. Charan Singh Sapra, react to the point made there by Anand Ranganathan, and then I'm coming to you, Naren Taneja, for your reaction. Charan Singh Sapra.
See, the issue is that this NRC was started by Congress party, but now there are contradictory statements coming on from BJP. Like you heard just now, the BJP panelist also, he was saying that it is being done under Supreme Court and the government has nothing to do with it. Whereas you saw in the parliament today, Amit Shah, he very strongly put up his statement that ki hamari government ye kar rahi hai. Now, why these contradictory statements? This is number one. Then why there's such a big flaw, there's such a big loophole in the entire process that 40 lakh people names have not come in this draft thing. So the issue is that there are flaws, there are loopholes in this. Government needs to fix up that first instead of doing politicking or maybe, you know, trying to create atmosphere of polarization between the majority and the linguistic minority. Now, people in this state, Assam, there are people from West Bengal living over there. There are people from Odisha, UP, and Bihar, Jharkhand. So you can't say that these are all illegal immigrants coming from Bangladesh. So somewhere you have to draw a line.
Okay.
You have to
draw a line.
Bring in clarity.
Okay.
And of course there are steps to bring in clarity.
I take that point, and at some point in this debate you will have to answer what took the Congress government, you know, 24 years to not be able to draw that line. That's a question that's coming your way. But Naren Taneja, respond to the point made there by Charan Singh Sapra. He says that, you know, that you're politicizing it. The comments made by the BJP president in the Rajya Sabha, clear indication of you politicizing it. The court says today no coercive action will be taken. The registrar must ensure justice. So, and then you have the BJP president on the floor of the House call all those whose names are excluded as intruders and not Indians. Is this not political posturing that is at the heart of this controversy?
Not really. If you look at it, first of all, Assam, even you have to look at the history of Assam, the last 40 years and 50 years, what has been going on there. What is Bangladesh today used to be East Pakistan, and what was happening in East Pakistan. Those students of history, they will know it very well. So you cannot really compare the situation in Bangladesh or in Assam. That's very ideal. Therefore, there are challenges there. The challenges have been there for 60 years. We haven't created the challenges there. They have been there for a variety of reasons. Partition was one of the reasons, of course. Now the question is that, you know, now we have to find a solution. Solution is that, you know, even when you look at the Supreme Court of India in 2005, Supreme Court made very clear, I just read it to you. Supreme Court said infiltration from Bangladesh were like external aggression. That's the Supreme Court of India. Now there are risks involved as well. We also know there are a number of other, you know, external agencies active in Bangladesh. But the important point that we try to make is at the same time it's a draft list. Those who are Indians, those who are Indian citizens, and if their names are there, if there are omissions, there are errors, or there anything, of course the government will take the responsibility and make sure that thing is corrected as soon as possible, and the Supreme Court is also monitoring. They are our own people, absolutely. And you see, and sometimes these things happen in the past on electoral rolls, and also I myself have been a victim of them in Delhi twice.
Right.
What I have done is I went there and the things were rectified in absolute. I'm sure it will happen. Second point, I want to make it very clear. Just bear with me for a second.
Okay.
Is that when the party chief, what the party chief was basically, our BJP president was trying to say, was just that the Assam Accord was signed in 1985, but Congress did nothing to implement it. And we are implementing it. That's what he was trying to say. No politics, just stating cold facts on the floor of Parliament.
I get your point on this, and I also, Naren Taneja, I get your point on this. I appreciate the fact that your party chief very emphatically and rightly highlighted what the Congress could not do in 85. They've done that. Fair point. I think I concede ground there. Where I don't concede ground is that these are not intruders yet. This is a draft list. They have recourse. They can go back. So they should not have been called intruders by somebody as responsible as your party president. But let me take this across to Kishle, because I think there is another side to this entire debate. And no matter what we say today, it is the failure of previous governments that allowed illegal immigrants to come, settle, attain full rights of Indian citizens. I mean, what explains the population growth of 36% in the decade of 51 to 61, 35% population explosion growth between 61 to 71 against a national average of, you know, early 20s. And you know, so can we afford to ignore the population explosion in border states like Assam? Because this did happen. Kishlay.
Well, you know, the cutoff date is 24th March, midnight 1971. So I don't think so, you know, talking about the decadal growth of 1950s and 60s is relevant out here. I mean, we agreed, I mean, it is the law of the land. We know that it's 1971, 24th March 90. So talking about the population explosion or the population growth, before that, is pointless, because people did come before 71, and between 47 to 71 there has been influx, there has been large scale influx. After 71 there has been trickle down influx. The border out there, the terrain, if you know, is porous, the terrain is difficult, there are riverine terrain, there are the forests, it's difficult to even maintain vigil along the border. There are about 66 smuggling points along the Indo-Bangla border. 20,000 cattle go across from India to Bangladesh every day and gets regularized as animals of unknown origin. So, you know, that border is a problem border, and people have been coming in. I don't know, there is no evidence with anybody, with any government agencies or with any previous governments to really conclude, to emphatically say that how many people came in and what is the, so we can't really, you know, accuse people of being migrants or foreigners as long as they have documents. Well, this point number 2 is that whether the Supreme Court and the government is now going to give a reprieve to any coercive action. Well, for the last couple of years there has been enough intimidation and harassment of people. There have been detention centers which were set up in several districts of the state. There are already and people were kept in those detention centers. Several hundred people were picked up in the middle of the night, separated from their families, kept out there. They were later bailed out. Their family members had to come and take them. So this process of intimidation and harassment has been going on for some time. Thirdly, I think this particular exercise has been extremely divisive and in an old animosity, and the Assamese Bengali division that has driven a wedge between the two communities. So there's a linguistic division, there is a religious division, and I do not think the process that was carried out, which is an important process necessary for every country to carry out, was carried out in the right spirit.
Okay,
and
that's
to make my case,
right.
I myself, actually, to understand the process, had applied for this NRC last year, and I was still about a month back, my name was not there in that list. I was born in Guwahati, my parents were born in Assam, their parents were born there, my daughter was born in Delhi. While the rest of the family found their names on the list, my daughter and I were not on the list. And several people, I'm not just talking about my case, there were several. So there is lacuna, there is, the problem is there, but as I told you right at the beginning of the show, that this number has been inflated to appease the nationalists and the sub-national groups. ASU is going to be happy. AGP is going to be happy. It's an ally of the BJP. As you know, Sarbananda Sonowal, the Chief Minister of Assam, himself a BJP person, started with ASU and fought the IMDT Act.
Absolutely.
His whole identity rests on this NRC, and they are going to be happy. So they are going to be vindicated. After that, the BJP, after the redressal, the number is going to be brought down. In that number, the Bengali Hindu and the Bengali Muslim will feel satisfied and happy that
allow me
to are going to be part of the list.
Allow me to interrupt.
That is why I think it's going to be advantage BJP.
I take your point on why it is advantage BJP. Let's get the Congress's view, and I want Charan Singh Sapra to clarify for the benefit of our viewers, what is the Congress party's position on this matter? Because there are clear divides within the party. As far as my understanding goes, there is no taller leader of the Congress party in Assam than former Chief Minister Tarun Gogoi, and he said categorically even today that he is not opposed to NRC in principle. After all, and it was Rajiv Gandhi who presided over the Assam Accord, as was pointed out by Naren Taneja and a few other panelists. So the BJP government is right in some sense in saying that they have done what the Congress could not do since 1985.
See, the issue is that Congress is not against the NRC, but the process which is being applied, that process, there are a lot of loopholes in that process which needs to be corrected. Now the issue is that we don't indulge into polarization, but the way the BJP leaders are coming out and talking, like you see Giriraj Singh, his provocative statement, or you see the provocative statement of their MLA from Telangana, from Hyderabad, Mr. Raja. He said people who are illegal immigrants should be eliminated. Now what does he mean by eliminated? So these are the things which create a grave situation in the state as well as in the country. They have started talking about NRC in West Bengal. They will start talking about NRC in all the other states of India. So what is the kind of situation the BJP or the central government wants? It's a big question mark. These are the major things. And as far as you were talking about Congress not bringing it in early. The issue is that this is a very tedious process and a highly sensitive process. It requires a lot of workforce. Now 25,000 people were involved in these last 3 years. Now to take the entire workforce of the state into this exercise, and then they had also natural calamities. 2012 we had a big flood in Assam. Earlier also we had a big flood situation.
No, you're digressing from the debate.
So viewing all this situation, this went on ahead.
Okay. You know, I just want to take a very quick point. And Suhas, you know, I just want to go back to the point that we were talking about. Okay, 40 lakh people have been missing right now in the list. They may have some recourse, but I'm presuming there will be people who will still be left out of any list, any final list. What happens to them? Can they be deported? Is it going to be easy to deport these people to Bangladesh? Because Bangladesh has very clearly said, this is not our problem. They are Indians, you figure out. Are detention centers the answer? I mean, what is going to be the resolution for people who will eventually not find their names in any list?
I think nobody is going to be sent back or deported to Bangladesh, because Bangladesh government led by Sheikh Hasina is the only government in South Asia which is supported by the government of India. If you send one alleged Bangladeshi from here, you make sure that she doesn't survive in Dhaka. So that's the reality between India and Bangladesh. I think what we have to understand is the fact that in the Northeast, when you talk about illegal immigration from 1947, the worst case scenario is not Assam. The worst case scenario is Tripura, where the indigenous peoples have actually become minorities, and I come from Tripura. So is the government of India, BJP or any other party or Congress, are going to start an NRC process in Tripura? Then if you start that, then obviously you are going to inflame the entire state. I think what we have to understand in Northeast India, that illegal immigration is a reality, but this is also being used to disenfranchise minorities. And last month, the government of India, Ministry of Home Affairs, had signed an agreement with the Mizoram government and the Bru Displaced People Forum. One of the key conditions for implementation and return of the Brus to Mizoram prior to the next election in October is the enrollment of the Brus who were deleted from the electoral rolls in 1995. So this process, what the fear is that if corrective measures are not taken, the minorities in Northeast India will be completely disenfranchised. And people have to remember one fact. It's not only the Muslims who are coming from Bangladesh. It's more number of Hindus coming simply because of the severe persecution they face in Bangladesh. So they have no other option than come back to Bangladesh. Now, if you look at the position of the nationalist and sub-nationalist groups in Assam, they oppose the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016, which tries to provide citizenship to the people who have come by 31st December 2014. Now, the key issue is the government of India, is the BJP or the RSS going to throw out all the Hindus who have come from Bangladesh after 1971? Okay. So they cannot do that. I think we have to understand that in the Northeast India, ethno-nationalism is so strong that this can be used as a mechanism against the minorities.
Okay, I take that point. Anand Ranganathan, respond to that point made there. Respond to that point made there by Suhas, because my sense is this is what is going to get thrown up a lot in debates like this, that this will be seen as a move to disenfranchise minorities in Northeast India and maybe, you know, much of Eastern India as well. How are you going to allay that concern, Anand Ranganathan?
Yeah, you know, I wish this question would have, excellent question, this should have been the first question, because, you know, rather than throwing up issues that actually lead to only scaremongering, and there is no doubt about it, every party, including the BJP, is now in the middle of indulging in scaremongering. I mean, you know, you had the Congress spokesperson, does he know that before the Assam election, the Congress manifesto talked of deporting the people who would be excluded from the NRC? And now he's saying, no, we're not. So, but, you know, let's talk of solution. And I think one solution, none of the parties have actually given the solution, which of course they wouldn't, because they want to, you know, exacerbate the whole situation. But Jaggi today of Swarajya has written a very nice article where he's actually given a solution, which is in fact one of the points which Mr. Thapa was also making, that no way in the world will you have 4 million or 10 million or 20 million people being asked to go back to, let's say, Bangladesh or any other country. The country simply will not accept it. So the solution is very simple. Of course, legally disenfranchise them, which is that they will not be able to vote in the Indian election, which is perfectly logical and legitimate. Why should they? They are not Indian citizens. And give them work permits, because they are contributing to the Indian economy. I mean, 20-30 million people, as it is, you just cannot, you know, in the middle of the night, take them away from the Indian economy. They are contributing. They are important cog in the wheel. So give them work permit, as Jaggi says, and disenfranchise them so that they will not be able to vote. So, you know, the parties who have actually used them as vote banks, this is a problem. Because, I mean, and I dare say Ms. Mamata Banerjee is one of them, because, you know, she's the one who's actually saying, get these people to Bengal. Not realizing that tomorrow if there is NRC in Bengal, who knows, you'll probably find 10 million people excluded from the NRC. So, you know, we have to think very sensibly, and all this scaremongering, as well as using these really disparaging, vituperative words like kick them out, throw them in the sea. I mean, this is exactly not the kind of way to handle this. And one of the spokes, he said, you know, some of the BJP voices are absolutely disgusting on this. So the point is, give them work permits, let them stay, but for the next 10 years, you know, they cannot vote, and after that you naturalize them, and that's sensible. Because you know, in the last 4 years, all this chest thumping of BJP, how many of illegal immigrants have actually BJP has extradited to Bangladesh? I think, yeah, you know.
Okay. No, Anand Ranganathan, you make an important point there, and I think we're putting solutions to the table. We just can't say pull them away, because no country is going to take them back. But you know, you spoke about rogue elements, and you speak about the kind of political voices that we are seeing, and you're right, there is enough and more scaremongering that's happening on both sides of the political spectrum, whether it's the Congress, the TMC, the BJP, they're all to be blamed. Naren Taneja, there are charges that the entire process is being done around religious and ethnic divide, especially with rogue elements. And I'm going to quote one such MLA of the BJP in Telangana, Raja Singh, who has said that if these Rohingyas and Bangladeshi illegal immigrants do not leave India respectfully, then they should be shot and eliminated. Then only will our country be safe, is what he's saying. I mean, what kind of statements are these, and why are these not being denounced? Because it is statements precisely like these that give a religious color, religious tone, communal overtone to illegal immigration by distinguishing between Hindu and Muslim immigrants. It raises suspicion over what is perhaps a legitimate citizenship drive. Why is this Raja Singh not being pulled up? How can he get away by saying what he's saying?
Well, you know, whenever, you know, MLAs or such people make remarks, they are pulled up. Let me share with you. They are pulled up. And we don't even know whether they understand what they are talking about. You see, this is not the BJP language. We don't approve such a level, we condemn it. You know, absolutely. They're not acceptable. Not acceptable. That's not BJP culture.
Sorry, this Mr.
Now,
Raja of
the
BJP
quick point I want to make. First of all, Bangladesh is a very important
Taneja.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can I speak? Yeah. You see, the point I was trying to make is Bangladesh is a very important neighbor, very important country for us. Social, economic, political stability of Bangladesh is in our interest. And we will not do anything that might lead to any kind of disturbance, you know, change in the status in terms of, you know, stability and economic progress and political issue of Bangladesh. Absolutely no. So it's a friendly country, very important country for us, and is playing a very important role as far as strategic interest in Bangladesh, Indian Ocean, and far, you know, Indo-Pacific region is concerned. Point number two, if you look at the amount of efforts that we have put in and the amount of money that we are investing in the entire northeastern, is the first time in the history of modern India that, you know, the government is putting in efforts, putting in serious amount of money, literally billions of dollars, to mainstream northeast, mainstream economically, socially and politically. That's what we are doing. If that is our commitment and that's our efforts, look at the number of times our Prime Minister has travelled across Northeast.
I take that point.
Dozens and dozens of times.
I take that point. I take that point.
We want stability.
Okay, no one's going to deny that. No one.
Why don't you let me speak?
Okay, quickly make your point. Because Naren Taneja, you're not answering the question.
Like you allow others, why don't you allow to me?
No, Naren Taneja, because you're diverting from the question asked. That is the point. We are not here to, you know, we will do a separate show on all the initiatives taken by your government for the northeastern region, and I'm sure then you can talk about it. That's the only reason, sir. But anyways, you can go ahead and complete your point in 30 seconds.
No, my dear, you are a journalist. I was a journalist all my life before I joined politics. Whenever you talk of something, you also have to, as part of the story, part of the article, part of the editorial that you write, or part of the feature you make for television, you have to bring those things also in order to make your point.
Okay.
That's what I was taught when I did my journalism.
Okay.
So I'm just doing exactly that.
Okay.
You see,
I
the
take
point
that
I'm
point.
trying to make is that's what our commitment is to the region, including Assam.
Okay.
Including Assam. So that's the reason. So we are doing everything possible to make sure Assam region, Assam, becomes more stable, make more progress economically, socially, and all that.
Okay.
That's our main commitment to the people of Assam.
Okay.
If you look at the Assam Accord of 1985, it is talked about the social and economic stability of the original culture and the people. So we are going strictly in accordance with that. As I said, it's a sensitive state, it's a border state. There have been some issues for historical reasons. Our aim is to make sure that not a single person there is put to any kind of inconvenience.
Okay.
If there are lacunas in NRC, we will make sure that is rectified as soon as possible, and not a single person is put to inconvenience.
Okay, I take that point, and I'm with you in the second part of what you said. I have a small grouse with what you started off by saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about. If this MLO doesn't know what he's talking about, then as a matter of fact, he should not be an MLA, and someone in your party should take stern action. But I don't want this debate to be hijacked by one MLA who doesn't know what he's talking about. So let me come to you, Keshala, on the point made by Anand, which Jaggi wrote about in his column, which is a substantive point, which is a solution wherein while these so-called illegal immigrants are disenfranchised, and yet they are not taken out of the economic system, so they continue to work, live in whatever manner, and they don't have voting rights, so they will not be seen as a voting bloc by political parties. Is that a solution that is feasible at all in Assam, Keshala?
It is a solution that was proposed, that has been proposed for years now. Even Mr. L.K. Advani had proposed work permit, and I'm told that the Supreme Court is going to eventually arrive at the work permit if they want to resolve this conundrum. But the point still remains that even if one genuine citizen is in that list because of lack of documents, and in a country like India, we are a land where we don't preserve documents. Our documentation is extremely poor. There is a very high chance that genuine citizens do not have the legacy document that the government insists that they produce. It is very difficult to produce that document by many families. You have to somehow prove that you or your father have voted out here before 1971, that's 1966, or produce some other document. Now, those kind of documents people don't carry around with them. We don't have documents. We are a country where hundreds and millions of people, not millions of people, who do not have an identity card, do not have a ration card, do not have a lot of identity proofs. So how do you now arrive at a conclusive figure, a bulk of people? And if you want to do that, then you are doing at your own peril, because I would suspect that a number of genuine citizens will then be stateless. And if we are moving towards a situation in the world where the United Nations says by 2024 no person in the world should be stateless, then how do we resolve this? My suspicion is that they will keep this hanging as long as they can.
Okay, Suhas, I'm going to come to you, and you can obviously react to the point that Keshala was making there, but I also have a quick question to ask of you. I'm emotionally and mentally with exactly what Keshala said towards the end, that there should be no person in this world who should be stateless, and we must all work towards eliminating statelessness from this world. But there is also a point of view of the Assamese people who have for long been suffering from illegal immigrants from across the border in Bangladesh. There has been a change in demographic profile and a strain on resources. We can't miss this indigenous concern of Assam as well. I mean, most countries open the doors only when immigrants bring in value, but when it comes to India, they're coming in at the rock bottom of the pyramid just to take away the low-end jobs. Those are perhaps the jobs, but the Assamese people are also taking claim. So how do you deal with an issue like this? Because it's obviously clearly got two sides to it.
I think the key issue is who is indigenous to Assam. Is it only the scheduled tribes? Then in that case, then the mainstream Assamese who are not scheduled tribes, they will not be considered as indigenous peoples. Now, if you talk about the indigenous peoples, obviously the Bengal and Assam, they have been together for thousands of years, and suddenly you cannot say that the Bengalis are not indigenous. So one of the key problem in this entire exercise has been lack of definition of who is indigenous. So the way the government has interpreted is, if you are of one of the scheduled tribes groups or the Ahomia groups, then you are indigenous, and if you are Bengali speaking, you are not. My own hunch is, if documentation is to be used to prove the citizenship, then in that case there will be thousands of tribal people who will not be able to prove that they belong to Assam, because if you look at the Forest Rights Act implementation in Assam, thousands and hundreds of thousands of Bodos are not given Forest Rights Act because they simply cannot prove that they have been living on the land from December 2005 when the act came into force. So that's one of the key issues. The second issue which I wanted to discuss is when you talk about solution, you have to understand that the Assam agitation had come in 1970s. So from 1971 till 1980s, there was huge influx. But if you read the Citizenship Act says under Section 3 of the Citizenship Act, anybody who is born before 1st July 1987, irrespective of the status of the parents, he or she is a citizen by birth. And it's on that basis the Tibetans have been allowed to vote. And they are casting their votes in Delhi, in Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka. Why that particular facility not extended in Assam? And in the end, what will happen is the fact that if a genuine determination based on documentation takes place, the people who are considered the original inhabitants of Assam, they themselves shall not qualify. And that remains a problem, I think, where Kishala had mentioned. Okay. Now, should the system allow somebody who is a citizen to be not considered as a citizen simply because he didn't keep the documentation? And final point, in 1971, anybody has any idea where was Assam? The only rail lines were built by the British. Assam was absolutely inaccessible. Right. You know, I mean, where is the government to issue the documents to many people?
Okay, okay. I take that point, and that's an important point you're bringing to the debate. But, you know, we have much ground to cover and only 6 minutes left on the show. Charan Singh Sapra, you know, the point that Anand Raghunathan referred to, and I think to some extent Narendra Taneja referred to as well, is this whole, you know, looking at it through the prism of vote bank. The BJP blames infiltration of Bangladeshi migrants under Indira Gandhi and insists that it is time the voter lists are sanitized. It is sanitized. In some sense, is voter list at the heart of this very controversial exercise. The fact is that, you know, they are being looked at by political parties. These illegal immigrants are being looked at by political parties as vote banks. Is that the fundamental problem?
No, I don't think so that that's the fundamental problem. But in the due course, they might have become voters with the due proofs what they are carrying with them. The issue is, like some media panelist was talking earlier about the census, that there are less number of Muslims coming in and more numbers of Hindu coming in. I have those census figures with me. Let me tell you that between 1991 and 2011, the total number of immigrants were 30,413, and out of that only 3,713 Muslims and 26,702 Hindus had come. And if you see the process of deportation, from 2013 it has started. 2013 there were 5,234 Bangladeshis who were deported. 2014 989, 2015 474, 2016 308, and 2017 only 51. So what is the BJP boasting of? Why are these Rajas and Giriraj Singh giving such big statements to polarize the situation when their own state government and the central government is not serious to deport people? Even in 2017 only 51. So this politics of divide and rule should stop. The politics of fight between the linguistic minority and the majority in Assam should stop. This will create a heavy polarization atmosphere in the country, and you know, this will divert the attention of the country from the development issue which the BJP wants. They don't want the nation to discuss development. They don't want the nation to discuss Rafale scam. they want the
Charan
nation
Singh
to discuss Assam and all these things.
Okay.
So this is a one sort of diversion, also
It's an
diversion
important issue. Let's not make this
tactics
a Congress
which the
versus the
BJP wants to
fight.
play. So
Charan
they
Singh
are
Thapar,
doing.
I don't want this issue to be reduced. One second, let me
No,
come in.
I don't
One
take
second,
this
let
as
me
a
come in.
Congress
We don't want
versus
to reduce
BJP
this issue
also.
to a Congress. No,
I am
but
not
now you
taking
have to
this
keep
as a
quiet
Congress
because I'm
versus
taking
BJP
over.
also.
Naren Taneja, no, okay, you've made your point. Please keep quiet for a minute. Naren Taneja, you know, I hope you don't call this just another MLA who doesn't know what he's saying. He's not an MLA, but Dilip Ghosh of the BJP in West Bengal has demanded NRC in Bengal. His infiltration is very rampant there. And it's not just him. Even Amit Shah has said that if BJP does come to power in Bengal, there will be NRC to eliminate unwanted immigrants. Where does this stop? What stops other states to demand similar sanitization? And what will be the political fallout for this? Because is this going to be a norm that we're going to see across the country?
Not across the country. You see, look at, for instance, I don't recollect, I read 9 newspapers every day, which I've done since I was 8 years old. I've never seen a chief minister of a state saying that country is going in the direction of civil war. In any other country, such a person would have been actually prosecuted. I think we should make such laws. You can't talk about civil war in the country so casually. Now the fact is that, you know, political, battle is going on in West Bengal. In the Panchayat election, BJP has Assam as number 2, and you know they are losing ground to us. So Mamata Banerjee is rattled. But then why polarize along the religious line, linguistic lines and all that, saying that I am the sole spokesperson now of all Bengalis on the planet? This is cheap politics what they are doing. So when you talk about this thing, I would like you, yes, what Mr. Ghosh said, by all means, please talk about it, mention it and debate about it. But at the same time, don't forget the civil war. That's far more serious. So if you bring both in the same bracket, I'll be very happy to answer it. If you single out BJP leaders only and completely ignore what Mamata Banerjee talked about, which probably no politician has ever talked about in the history of modern India, you ignore it completely. So my point is that it's unfortunate. These kind of statements, whether made by BJP or Congress or any other political party, or the statements, you know, such as made by, you know, civil war and all that, we are one country. We have to work for the mainstreaming the entire Northeast, including Assam. And there are some issues in Bengal, there are some issues in Assam, because Bangladesh had gone through very rough times, and we will probably continue to face this problem for some time to come. Okay, it happens when you your economy is growing faster than your neighbors, or you're doing better than your neighbor. Okay. But we have to look at it in this spirit and talk constructively.
Okay, we will talk constructively, and just to set the record straight, you know, I think that comment from Mamata Banerjee was again condemnable and most unfortunate. And you know, we don't have a representative of TMC on the panel. It's unfair for me to expect Anand Ranganathan or Kishore Bhattacharya to react to what Mamata Banerjee said. I can ask you to react on what a BJP MLA said. That's journalism 101. But to you, Anand Ranganathan, closing comments, and I want you to react to the earlier question on where does this stop? You know, Assam now, what next? Where does it stop? And the broader question, if we were to step back, cool down a little bit and say that, you know, modern nations today are a product of migrations and cultural diffusion. You know, we all talked about the French national soccer team which won the World Cup, which had more Africans than natives. Do you think that India needs a policy fine-tuning to deal with the immigration menace more effectively?
Yeah, you know, very quick couple of points. You know, one is on this thing, where is it going to stop? I'm afraid it's actually not going to stop very soon, because all the parties feel they will gain from it. And I'll tell you what, you know, BJP is thumping its chest right now, but it can very easily boomerang. I mean, just this evening I heard Mr. Ratan Sharda, who's a political commentator, a right-wing political commentator, and he said as many as 30 to 40% of the people excluded, that means 20 lakh people, could be Hindus. And BJP is already thumping its chest saying that, look, you know, all these people need to be kicked out, and one of the MLA saying eliminated. Now what happens if 2 million of them are Hindus? BJP is going to be, cornered there. But let me just say, thank God that Supreme Court is minutely monitoring it. Just imagine if Supreme Court was not in it. So let me end by saying everyone needs to calm down, and there are only two kinds of people in this country. One who respect the judiciary, and the others who think they are the judiciary. So let me tell all you politicians, please don't think you are the judiciary. Supreme Court is there. Have trust in Supreme Court, and they're going to solve this.
Okay. Okay, completely out of time here, and I know each one of you wants to make a point there, but we'll have to wrap up things here. I can't thank this wonderful panel enough for not just discussing what is a very deep-rooted social and political issue, but also to put forward solutions on the table. So thanks each one of you for being with us on this very special edition of the India Development Debate. There is of course a deep human angle to this entire exercise. Imagine living in a place for decades and then being told one fine day that you don't actually belong there. I mean, how different is this perhaps from what Mr. Trump tried to do with Mexicans, separating toddlers from their mothers, daughters from their fathers? And the larger question also is, what is the eventual fate of people who find no mention finally? Is detention center the last resort? Because deporting can never be easy, and history is witness to that.
Even as India does a one-of-its-kind citizenship drive in Assam, it must at all costs ensure that there is no communal tone to it, that it is done in a transparent manner, in an open and fair manner, and any kind of illegality is addressed appropriately. Completely timed out on this edition of India Development Debate. Up next is Top 10 at 10.